The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows over the small compound where Beatrice sat on a wooden stool, peeling yam. The scent of firewood smoke drifted from the outdoor kitchen as the evening breeze rustled the palm trees. Despite the picturesque setting, the air inside the compound was thick with tension, an unspoken war brewing between husband and wife. Oh. So this is how a barren woman enjoys life, eh? The sharp voice cut through the stillness like a knife. Beatrice flinched but did not look up. She knew that tone. It was the same one Uche used every evening, the one laced with mockery and bitterness. Her fingers trembled as she peeled the yam, her heart pounding with silent fury. Uche, not today, please. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but she knew it would do nothing to calm the storm brewing inside him. Uche strode toward her, kicking a bucket out of his way. It clattered against the ground, startling a hen that scurried away in fright. He towered over Beatrice, his face twisted in disdain. 5 years, Beatrice. 5 whole years. And what have you given me? Nothing but false hopes and fibroids. At the mention of her condition, Beatrice's throat tightened. The neighbors, already peeping from behind their windows, began whispering among themselves. Chai, see how this man humiliates his own wife. But why hasn't she conceived? Maybe she is cursed. Even if she is, does she deserve this kind of insult? Beatrice tried to shut out their murmurs, but they pressed into her like thorns. She gritted her teeth. I will not cry. I will not cry. Uche scoffed and pointed at the small bowl of soup beside her. And look at you, still eating as if you are feeding twins. Do you think food will miraculously put a baby in your belly? Maybe if you ate less and prayed more, God would have mercy on you. Beatrice swallowed hard, gripping the yam in her hands. I have prayed, Uche. I have fasted. I have done everything the doctors told me. The fibroid is not my fault. But Uche laughed bitterly. Fibroid, fibroid, fibroid. Is that not just another name for your useless womb playing tricks on you? You expect me to waste my hard-earned money on an operation when I could be using it to marry a real wife who will give me children? Beatrice froze. A real wife. She repeated, her voice barely a whisper. Uche smirked, crossing his arms. Yes. A woman whose belly will swell with my child, not with some useless lump that only brings hospital bills. That night, long after Uche had fallen asleep, Beatrice sat outside the hut, staring at the moon. Her heart felt like a heavy stone inside her chest. She had no more tears left to cry. The past 5 years had been a nightmare, her husband's insults, the neighbors' whispers, the sleepless nights spent in silent prayers. But nothing had changed. If anything, Uche had grown worse. And now, he spoke of marrying another woman. A cold shiver ran down her spine. If she didn't do something soon, she would be thrown aside like an old rapper. She had begged Uche for help with the surgery. She had pleaded with him to stand by her side. But he had refused. And so, Beatrice made a decision that would change her life forever. The very next day, before dawn broke, Beatrice wrapped her headscarf tightly and stepped out of the house. She had no rich relatives to turn to, no savings to rely on. But she had her hands. And so, Beatrice, once the proud wife of a well-to-do trader, became a woman of labor. She washed clothes for village women. She roasted and sold akara by the roadside. She carried heavy firewood on her head, her body aching from the strain. Each coin she earned was hidden beneath the mat where she slept. Each coin was one step closer to her freedom. But as the days passed, something else changed. The love she once had for Uche began to crumble, replaced by something cold and unyielding. One evening, after a long day of work, Beatrice sat in their small hut, counting the money she had gathered so far. It was not enough, but she was getting there. Uche, who had been watching her from the corner of the room, let out a cold chuckle. See how happy you are over common coins. Imagine if you had a child, maybe you would have thrown a party. Oh, but wait, he clapped his hands mockingly. You will never know that joy. Something inside Beatrice snapped. For the first time, she did not feel pain. She did not feel sadness. She only felt rage. That night, for the first time, she prayed not for a child but for an escape. And the gods were listening. Because soon, a stranger would walk into her life, bringing with him the promise of love, dignity, and redemption. And Uche, the man who mocked her, would live to regret it. The village market hummed with life. The scent of roasted corn and fried plantain mixed with the dusty breeze as traders shouted over one another, advertising their goods. Beatrice stood at her small akara stand, flipping golden brown bean cakes in hot oil. Sweat clung to her skin, but she kept walking. Every sale brought her closer to the surgery she desperately needed. She barely noticed the tall man who stopped in front of her stand. "Madam, how much for 3 pieces?" Beatrice glanced up briefly, then did a double take. The man before her was striking, broad-shouldered, with smooth dark skin and kind eyes that held a quiet strength. He was well-dressed, his fitted kaftan marking him as someone from the city. "It's 20 naira per piece," she said quickly, turning back to the sizzling oil. "All right, give me 6, he replied, his voice deep but gentle. As Beatrice wrapped the akara in brown paper, she felt his eyes studying her. It made her uncomfortable. "Are you new in this village?" she asked, trying to make small talk. The man nodded. "Yes, I came to visit my mother. She lives in the next compound." Beatrice handed him the akara, expecting him to leave, but he hesitated. "I've been watching you for a while," he admitted. "You work hard." Beatrice stiffened. Here we go again. Another man thinking a struggling woman needs saving. "I do what I must," she said flatly. But the man smiled. "That's admirable. My name is Chaik, by the way." She didn't respond. Instead, she turned back to her frying, hoping he would go. But as he walked away, something in her chest stirred, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Curiosity. That evening, Beatrice walked home, exhausted from the day's work. As she entered the compound, she found Uche lounging outside, drinking palm wine with 2 of his friends. The moment he saw her, he sneered. "Oh, see, the village laborer has returned," he mocked, causing his friends to chuckle. Beatrice ignored him and made her way inside, but Uche wasn't done humiliating her. "Tell me, how much did you make today?" "Enough to buy yourself another fibroid." His friends roared with laughter. Beatrice froze at the doorstep. For years, she had endured Uche's insults, but today felt different. Slowly, she turned to face him. "Uche," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You will regret the way you treat me." Uche scoffed. "Regret? Over a barren woman like you? You are lucky I even let you stay in my house." Beatrice said nothing. She simply walked inside, her heart heavy but her mind clear. She had made her decision. Over the next few weeks, Chak kept returning to Beatrice's stand. At first, she was cautious. But there was something different about him. He wasn't like the village men who whispered behind her back, nor was he like Uche, who wielded cruelty like a weapon. Chak asked about her dreams, her struggles, her pain. And for the first time in years, Beatrice found herself laughing again. One evening, as the market was winding down, Chak stood by her stand, his expression serious. "Beatrice, I know we haven't known each other for long, but I need to ask you something." She raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" Chak took a deep breath. "Marry me." Beatrice almost dropped the akara she was holding. "What did you just say?" "Marry me," he repeated. "Leave this suffering behind. Let me take care of you." Beatrice felt her heart race. Marriage. Again. She had barely recovered from the first one. "Chaik. I can't. I have nothing to offer." He stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "You have everything to offer. You are strong. You are kind. And you deserve happiness, Beatrice." Tears welled in her eyes. No man had ever spoken to her this way. No man had ever looked at her as if she was worth something. But could she really leave Uche? Could she really start over? The decision weighed on her like a boulder. Then, as if the gods themselves were giving her a sign, the answer came crashing into her life. That night, Beatrice returned home and found Uche speaking in hushed tones with an older woman. She recognized her instantly, Mama Nkechi, the village matchmaker. Her blood ran cold. Uche, what is going on? She asked, stepping forward. Uche turned to her, his expression blank. Pack your things, he said. I am taking a second wife. Beatrice felt the world tilt beneath her feet. A second wife. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Mama Nkechi clicked her tongue. Oh, my dear, don't be offended. Uche needs children, and this girl we found is very fertile. You understand, don't you? Beatrice felt her entire body go numb. So this was it. Uche wasn't just insulting her anymore. He was replacing her. Something inside her shattered. But when she looked at Uche, she didn't see a man she loved. She saw a man who had done nothing but break her. And just like that, her decision became clear. The next morning, Beatrice packed her belongings, the few things she had. As she walked out of Uche's compound, she did not look back. She walked straight to Chike, her heart pounding. Is your offer still open? She asked, her voice trembling. Chike smiled. It always will be. And just like that, Beatrice stepped into a new life, leaving behind the man who never deserved her. The warm morning sun bathed the compound in golden light as Beatrice stepped out onto the veranda of her new home. The house was modest but well kept, with a small garden where bright hibiscus flowers bloomed. Birds chirped in the mango tree, and the scent of fresh bread from the village bakery filled the air. It had been 3 months since she left Uche. 3 months since she walked away from a life of mockery and pain. And for the first time in years, Beatrice felt free. She adjusted the wrapper around her waist and turned to see Chike carrying a wooden stool toward her. You should sit and rest, my wife, he said, smiling as he set the stool down. Beatrice chuckled. Chike, I am not an old woman. I can work. Oh, but you have worked enough in this life, he teased. Beatrice smiled, but deep down, she still struggled to believe this was real. Chike had given her everything Uche had refused her, kindness, respect, and most importantly, love. And yet, there was still one thing she feared. What if she still couldn't conceive? What if Chike, like Uche, one day turned on her? Would history repeat itself? She shook off the thought, forcing herself to live in the moment. What do you want for breakfast? She asked. Chike grinned. Anything my beautiful wife makes will taste sweet. Beatrice laughed, swatting at his arm. But as she walked toward the kitchen, her heart whispered a silent prayer. Please, let this happiness last. Meanwhile, in the same village, Uche sat outside his compound, staring into space. His new wife, Adanma, stood nearby, her hands on her hips. Uche, I am talking to you, she snapped. Uche sighed and rubbed his temples. What is it now, Adanma? What is it now? She mimicked, rolling her eyes. Did you not promise me a better life? Did you not say I would have everything I wanted? Yet, look at me. You don't even have money to buy meat for soup. Uche's jaw clenched. Since Beatrice left, things had taken a bad turn for him. His business, once thriving, had begun to fail. Customers no longer came as they used to. His once respected name had turned into a village joke. Uche, the man who chased away a good wife. The fool who mocked his own blessing. The whispers haunted him, but worse than that was the growing chaos in his home. Adanma, the young, fertile wife he had chosen, was nothing like Beatrice. She was lazy, disrespectful, and spent money carelessly. And to make matters worse, she had not conceived either. Adanma, stop shouting. Uche snapped, rising to his feet. You think life is easy? Do you know how hard I work? Hard work. Adanma scoffed. A real man provides. Maybe you should go and beg Beatrice to come back so she can bring you good luck again. Uche's face darkened. Beatrice. The woman he had thrown away like worthless cloth. Had he truly made a mistake? Weeks passed, and Beatrice adjusted to her new life with Chike. He continued to treat her with love, never once pressuring her for children. Then one morning, everything changed. Beatrice woke up feeling weak. A strange dizziness overtook her as she tried to stand. "Are you okay?" Chike asked, concerned. I don't know," Beatrice murmured. "I feel strange." Days passed, and the symptoms persisted. Beatrice found herself unable to eat the food she once loved. She felt tired all the time, and a strange fluttering sensation settled in her stomach. Chike's mother, Mama Ngozi, noticed. "My daughter," she said one evening, eyeing Beatrice closely. "Have you checked if you are with child?" Beatrice's heart skipped a beat. "No, Mama. It can't be." But Mama Ngozi only smiled. "Go and check. The gods work in mysterious ways." The next day, Beatrice visited the village midwife. When she returned home, tears streamed down her face. Chike rushed to her, alarmed. "Beatrice, what is it? What happened?" She looked up at him, her lips trembling. "Chike. I am pregnant." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a slow, joyful smile spread across Chike's face. "Pregnant," he repeated, his voice thick with emotion. Beatrice nodded, still overwhelmed. Chike let out a deep laugh and lifted her off her feet, spinning her around. "You have made me the happiest man alive," he declared. Beatrice clung to him, sobbing. For years, she had believed she was cursed. For years, she had suffered mockery and shame. And yet, the moment she found love, the gods blessed her. She had never been barren. She had only been waiting for the right man. Back in Uche's compound, a group of villagers gathered, whispering among themselves. "Have you heard? Beatrice is pregnant." The words cut through Uche like a blade. He felt the air leave his lungs. His vision blurred. Beatrice, pregnant. The woman he had mocked, humiliated, and cast aside was now carrying a child. Uche stumbled back onto a stool, his hands shaking. "No, this is not possible." His friend, Obi, sighed. "You brought this upon yourself, my friend. You never valued what you had." Uche clenched his fist, his heart pounding with regret. Beatrice had not been barren. She had simply been with the wrong man. And now, he was left with nothing but an empty house, a troublesome wife, and a regret that would haunt him forever. The village was buzzing with excitement. News of Beatrice's pregnancy spread like wildfire, and women gathered at her new home to celebrate. The once barren woman, mocked for years, was now carrying life inside her. The gods had finally smiled upon her. Inside the house, Beatrice sat on a woven mat, her hands resting gently on her growing belly. The past months had been surreal, every kick, every flutter reminded her that this was real. She was going to be a mother. "You are glowing, my daughter," Mama Ngozi said, handing her a bowl of warm pepper soup. Beatrice smiled. "I never thought this day would come, Mama." Mama Ngozi chuckled. "The gods do not work by human timing. You suffered, but now you will know true joy." Beatrice took a spoonful of the soup and sighed. "And Chike, he has been my greatest blessing." Since the pregnancy, Chike had been more loving than ever. He never let her carry heavy things, woke up early to prepare her food, and even sang to the baby at night. Unlike Uche, he treated her like a queen. But deep in Beatrice's heart, she knew that happiness often attracted envy. And somewhere in the village, danger lurked. Uche sat in his compound, staring blankly at the palm wine calabash in his hands. His life had crumbled before his eyes. Adanma, the woman he had married to replace Beatrice, had left him. His business had collapsed. His house, once filled with laughter and noise, was now a shadow of its former self. And Beatrice. She was striving. Uche, you need to move on, his friend Obi said, sipping his drink. Move on. Uche scoffed. How can I move on knowing that another man is enjoying my wife? Obi shook his head. She is not your wife anymore. You threw her away, remember? The words cut deep. For months, Uche had convinced himself that Beatrice had been the problem. That she had been barren. But now, seeing her with child, he knew the truth. He had been the problem. He had been the fool. And he couldn't live with it. I need to see her, Uche said suddenly, his voice raw with emotion. See her for what? Obi asked. She has moved on. Let her be. No, Uche muttered. I need to beg her. I need to bring her back. Obi sighed. You are playing with fire, my friend. But Uche had made up his mind. He was going to win Beatrice back, no matter what it took. It was late afternoon when Beatrice heard a knock at the door. She had been resting, her swollen feet propped up on a wooden stool, when the knock came again, louder this time. Who is it? She called out. There was a pause, then a voice she hadn't heard in months. Beatrice, it's me. Her breath caught in her throat. Uche. Mama Ngozi, who had been peeling yams nearby, frowned. That foolish man. What does he want? Beatrice's heart pounded. Part of her wanted to send him away, but another part was curious. She stood up slowly and walked to the door. When she opened it, she gasped. Uche looked nothing like the proud man she had once known. His clothes were worn, his eyes sunken, his once confident posture now slouched in defeat. Beatrice, please. I need to talk to you. She crossed her arms. What is there to talk about, Uche? I was wrong. His voice broke. I was blinded by my own foolishness. I mocked you, I humiliated you, and yet, you were never barren. It was me, Beatrice. I was the problem. Tears welled in his eyes. Please, forgive me. Beatrice stared at him, searching his face for sincerity. A year ago, she would have given anything to hear these words. But now? She felt nothing. Uche, I have forgiven you a long time ago. His face lit up with hope. Then let us start over. I will be a better man, I swear it. Beatrice sighed. Uche. I have moved on. I have a husband who loves me. I am carrying his child. I have found peace. Uche's face fell. Please, don't do this to me. She shook her head. No, Uche. Don't do this to yourself. His shoulders slumped. Defeated. For the first time, he realized the truth. He had truly lost her. As Uche left Beatrice's house, his heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. He wandered aimlessly through the village, his mind clouded with regret. That was when he heard two women whispering near the market square. Have you heard? Some people say that Beatrice's pregnancy is unnatural. Eh? What do you mean? They say it is not normal for a woman to be barren for years and suddenly conceive. Some believe she must have visited a powerful herbalist or even done something dark. Uche stopped in his tracks. His hands clenched into fists. Lies, he muttered. But the seed of doubt had been planted. What if Beatrice had indeed done something unnatural to get pregnant? What if the child was not meant to be born? As he turned a corner, another voice called out to him. Uche. He turned and found himself face to face with a familiar figure, Mama Nkechi, the village matchmaker. The woman who had once helped him find Adanma. She smiled slyly. I hear you are troubled, my son. Uche swallowed. I made a mistake, Mama Nkechi. I lost my wife. The old woman chuckled. There are ways to fix mistakes, Uche. But you must be willing to do whatever it takes. A chill ran down his spine. Whatever it takes. Mama Nkechi's eyes gleamed. The gods can be appeased if you are willing. Uche hesitated. His heart screamed for him to walk away. But the darkness in his soul whispered otherwise. And as he followed the old woman into the shadows, he made a choice that would change everything. The night air was thick with the scent of burning wood as Uche sat in a dimly lit hut deep within the village outskirts. Across from him, Momankechi, the village matchmaker turned sorceress, stirred a pot of dark herbs. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" she asked, her voice low and calculating. Uche hesitated. His hands trembled as he watched the bubbling concoction. What will it do?" he whispered. Momankechi gave a sly smile. "It will ensure that the child never sees the light of day." Uche's stomach twisted. Was this truly what he wanted? Beatrice had moved on, and he had lost her. He had already ruined his own life. Was he now about to destroy hers? "The gods do not like to be kept waiting," Momankechi warned. Uche swallowed hard. His jealousy burned deep, but at that moment, another emotion overtook him, fear. He stood abruptly, shaking his head. "No. I can't." Momankechi's expression darkened. "You came to me, Uche. You cannot leave now." "I made a mistake," Uche muttered, stepping back. The old woman hissed. "Then live with your regret." And with that, she turned back to her potion, ignoring him as he stumbled out of the hut and into the darkness. But as Uche hurried away, he failed to notice another figure hidden in the shadows, Chike. Chike had been following him all along. And now, he knew the truth. Beatrice was asleep when she felt it. A sharp, unbearable pain shot through her stomach, causing her to bolt upright. A gasp of agony escaped her lips as she clutched her belly. "Chike," she cried out. Chike rushed to her side, his face filled with fear. "What is it? What's wrong?" "The baby, something is wrong," she groaned, her forehead drenched in sweat. Mama Ngozi, who had been dozing in the next room, ran in at the sound of distress. "Get the midwife," she commanded. Chike didn't hesitate. He ran out of the house, his mind racing. This was not normal. This was not a coincidence. This was an attack. And he knew exactly who was behind it. Uche sat alone in his compound, his head buried in his hands. Regret gnawed at his soul like a relentless beast. Then, boom. The door burst open, and Chike stormed in, fury blazing in his eyes. Before Uche could react, Chike grabbed him by the collar and shoved him against the wall. "What did you do to my wife?" Chike roared. Uche's heart pounded in terror. I didn't do anything." "Liar." Chike spat. "You went to Momankechi. You tried to curse Beatrice and our child." Uche's breath came in ragged gasps. "I swear. I changed my mind. I didn't go through with it." Chike's grip tightened. "If anything happens to my wife or my child, Uche, I will make sure you regret the day you were born." At that moment, the village elders arrived, having been alerted by the commotion. They demanded answers. And Uche, knowing he was trapped, confessed everything. Gasps of shock filled the air. "You tried to harm an innocent woman and her unborn child," one elder thundered. "The gods will not forgive such evil," another elder declared. The punishment was swift. Uche was banished from the village. He had lost everything, his home, his dignity, and now, his place among his people. And as he walked away, head bowed in shame, he realized that he had dug his own grave. He had cursed himself. Forever. Weeks later, the pain Beatrice had suffered that night subsided. The midwife, with her careful hands and knowledge of healing herbs, had saved both mother and child. And finally, the long-awaited day arrived. Beatrice went into labor at dawn. Chike held her hand, whispering words of encouragement as she pushed through the pain. And then, after what felt like an eternity, a cry filled the room. A strong, healthy cry. A baby boy. Beatrice held her son in her arms, tears of joy streaming down her face. "We shall name him Chijioke," Chike said proudly. "For he is truly a gift from the gods." Beatrice looked at her husband, gratitude and love shining in her eyes. She had suffered. She had endured. But in the end, she had won. She had found happiness. And Uche. He had lost everything. Moral lesson. Never mock someone's pain, for the gods say all. A man who does not value his wife will live to regret it. True love and kindness will always attract blessings. Envy and jealousy only bring destruction.